She doesn't see you. Not really. What she sees is the man you could become, an idea, a fantasy, not the truth of who you are. And Carl Jung, he warned us about this a long time ago. You feel special under her gaze, but pause for a moment. That look is not recognition, it's projection. She's not seeing you, she's scanning you like a blank canvas, painting over you with her hopes, her ideals, her inner fantasy of the perfect man. This fantasy has a name. Jung called it the Animusa powerful archetype within every woman, the internal masculine image that, when undeveloped, can hijack her view of reality. And when she falls for a man, often she's falling for that animus, not for the real, flawed, breathing person in front of her. Most women don't even know they're doing this. And most men, we mistake it for love. You think she chose you, but what she chose was the version of you in her mind, the man she hoped you'd play in her private movie. And when you no longer fit the role, when you slip from the script, she replaces the actor, not the story. Jung didn't romanticize this. He saw it as a kind of spiritual possession, where a woman acts not from her true self, but from this inner masculine, force dominating, arguing, moralizing, without knowing why. And men, we get caught in it, because no one taught us to recognize the trap. We crave being wanted. We confuse desire with being understood. We buy the lie, you're different. But we're just the next name in her script. When it ends, when she pulls away, we're left, dazed, ashamed, and asking the wrong question. What did I do wrong? But you didn't do anything wrong. You just stopped acting in her fantasy. Jung offered a way out, individuation. A path not of pleasing others, but of knowing yourself, of becoming whole. And yet, most men never begin. Why? Because we've been trained to chase love instead of face ourselves. We trade authenticity for approval. We think obedience earns affection. We bend, mold, and perform until the man inside us disappears. But here's the paradox. The more available you are, the less she wants you. Jung understood what modern culture avoids. Feminine energy isn't drawn to comfort. It's drawn to mystery, to the man she cannot define, cannot predict, cannot fully own. The moment you give all of yourself without boundaries, you vanish in her eyes. You become disposable. True masculinity isn't about being liked. It's about being real. You don't become a man by being chosen. You become a man by choosing yourself. Not because she wants you, but because you know who you are. So stop playing her role. Write your own. And when you do, you'll stop being a mask and start being a man. She fell in love with the idea of you, not the reality. And when the illusion fades, you're left alone, wondering what went wrong. But here's the twist most men miss. It's not just about her. It's about you. It's about the role you keep playing again and again, afraid of losing her more than you're afraid of losing yourself. This is the brutal paradox that traps so many men. You fear solitude more than self-betrayal. You rather shrink into a role she likes than face the silence of being alone and fully yourself. But Carl Jung didn't sugarcoat the truth. He said that real freedom begins when a man embraces that solitude, when he's willing to let the false self die before his body ever does. And make no mistake, individuation, the process of becoming whole, is no pleasant walk in the park. It's not romantic. It's terrifying. It's lonely in a way that shatters illusions. Because once you begin to walk that path, you start to see things others can't or won't. You start noticing the lies people live behind, the masks they wear, and the desperate little games they play just to feel safe. And when you speak the truth aloud, they call you arrogant, cold, emotionless. Not because you're wrong, but because you've become the mirror. And nobody likes the mirror when it shows them their own darkness. Jung knew this well. He spent decades with patients paralyzed by fear of their own shadow, the hidden, rejected self they refused to acknowledge. The part of themselves they buried so deep, they forgot it ever existed. Women, Jung warned, often live in societies that reward this kind of avoidance. They're told they're already whole, that they're emotionally pure, spiritually intuitive, flawless by default. But Jung didn't buy that story. He warned of the animosity, inner masculine voice in every woman that can become a tyrant when left unchecked. A voice that speaks with false authority, false morality, false certainty. And when that animus is not confronted and integrated, it spills outwards. It turns into projection. It turns into blame. And every man she meets becomes the battleground for the inner war. She refuses to fight within herself. And you walk into it thinking you're the exception. You think you'll be her hero. You think that if you love her hard enough, if you try hard enough, she'll finally choose you truly, deeply, authentically. But projection doesn't work like that. Projection steals reality and replaces it with fantasy. It doesn't matter how real you are if she only sees the version of you that exists in her unconscious. And one day, when you fail to live up to the myth she cast you in, when you forget your lines or stop performing your part, she turns, not out of cruelty, not out of malice, but because you've stopped being the character she needs to sustain the illusion. She'll look at you not with anger, but with disappointment for failing to uphold a fantasy you never even knew you were cast into. And you'll stand there, blindsided, confused, heartbroken, not because of what you did wrong, but because of who you never were. Jung called this betrayal inevitable, when both people in a relationship refuse to take ownership of their inner worlds. You didn't lie. You didn't betray. You just stopped fitting the silent script written in her psyche. And this right here is the heartbreaking loop so many couples are trapped in. They don't fall in love with each other. They fall in love with projections, fantasies, childhood echoes. They call it love, but Jung called it possession. And over again, you walk into Aite's open, heart-wide thinking, this time will be different, but it never is. Because you haven't yet asked yourself the most painful, most liberating question a man can ask, what if I am the one responsible for this pattern? You want to blame her. You want to call her manipulative, dramatic, impossible. But Jung would pause, look straight into your eyes, and ask, and why did you let yourself be chosen by that woman? Because deep down, you knew. You felt the emptiness. You saw the red flags. But instead of confronting your own lack of wholeness, you played the part. You became the mask. Because playing pretend was easier than facing the truth, that without her, you didn't know who you were. You weren't a victim. You were a volunteer. And this is the moment where most men check out. They stop listening. Because this is where the comfort ends and the responsibility begins. Jung didn't hand you a blueprint for masculinity. He didn't sell you a formula to become alpha. What he gave you was far more dangerous. The task of sitting alone in the dark until the illusions crack. Until the voice in your head, the one that says you're nothing without her, begins to die. But that voice won't go quietly. It will scream, it will bargain, it will whisper that no man can survive without feminine validation. That you need her. That love will fix you. That you'll be empty without her. And Jung's teachings, they whisper something colder, deeper, and far more powerful. The man who stands without applause is the man who is finally free. When you reach that place free from the tyranny of being someone else's idea of a man, something profound happens. You don't become cold. You don't become distant. You become real, grounded, rooted like an ancient oak that no storm can bend. You move through the world fully alive in your own skin. And paradoxically, that's when women feel the strongest pull toward you, not because you need them, but precisely because you don't. There's a quiet power in your presence. You don't chase. You don't seek validation. You don't mold yourself to match someone else's desires. And your smile, it doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from clarity. Because you finally see she has her own journey too. Her own demons to face, her own illusions to burn. And no, you can't do that work for her. You can't save her from herself. You can only do what Jung did, walk your path so honestly, so fearlessly that your life becomes a mirror. A reflection of truth for anyone bold enough to look. And let's be honest, most people will turn away, but a rare few will see it and they'll thank you for it. That right there is the difference between being loved for a role and being respected for who you've become. Then comes a strange moment of realization. You don't need to perform anymore, and suddenly people around you start acting uncomfortable. They can't quite explain it, but they feel it. Your presence unsettles them. Why? Because you no longer fit the script. You've stepped out of the roles they used to feel safe. Jung warned us the individuated man is not embraced by society. He is feared, misunderstood, labeled as distant or too much in his head. But that's not the truth. The truth is far more dangerous. You've become untouchable, unbuyable, unmanipulable. You see through the game. And the people who once craved your attention, your approval, your affection, they now resent you for not needing theirs. Women, especially those still trapped by the fantasy of the perfect man, will say you're emotionally unavailable. They'll say you're too analytical, too guarded, too in your masculine. But what they really mean is they can't control you anymore. You've dropped the script. You've stopped playing the character. You've become a man. And that confuses them. Without your predictable responses, your constant availability, your easy compliance, they don't know how to respond. You're no longer a puppet. You're a presence. Jung once joked, the gods have become diseases. What ancient cultures called divine possession, we now call psychological dysfunction. And make no mistake, men addicted to validation are among the most spiritually sick. You think you're being romantic when you say things like, I'd do anything for her, or she's my everything. But Jung would shake his head. Because that's not love. That's a refusal to carry your own soul. It's easier to hand your purpose, your hope, your entire identity to a woman and let her carry it for you. But here's the brutal twist. She's not meant to carry it. She can't. And eventually, she'll drop it. She has to. No woman, no matter how devoted, can hold the weight of a man who refuses to hold himself. And when she drops it, you'll feel betrayed. You'll feel abandoned. But the truth is, she did you a favor. Because in that moment, when the illusion shatters, you come face to face with the one truth most men run from. The work of becoming a man was never hers to do. It was always yours. And now, in that raw moment of clarity, you have a choice. You can blame her. You can grow bitter. You can join the angry chorus of men who mock and resent women, pretending that the wound isn't theirs to heal. Or you can turn inward. You can take up the quiet, brutal, lonely work of individuation. You can start becoming whole without needing anyone to complete you. Because the truth is this, the woman you're chasing out there, she's just a reflection of the part of you that you've abandoned inside. And until you face that, every connection will be a lie. Every romance will be a performance. Every love will be a transaction. And so we arrive at the threshold of place where most men turn back. Because to continue forward is to confront something few dare to face. The raw, unvarnished truth of who you really are, without roles, without masks, without applause. Every connection once felt like a transaction. Every word of love, a subtle performance. But when you've burned through the falsehoods, when you've stared into your own depths and met your inner feminine, your anima not as a fantasy, but as a force, you emerge different, rooted, whole. At that point, you no longer chase. You don't need to. You're not seducing. You're not convincing. You're not auditioning for a part in someone else's romance. You're standing still, fully present in your own skin, and that stillness has power. Not loud, not boastful, but unmistakable. And something miraculous happens. You stop attracting women who want you to play a role. You start drawing in the ones who crave the truth. Women who have done the work. Women who don't look at you and see potential to shape. Women who look at you and see a partner, not a savior, not a character, but a man. You'll know when it happens. She won't come to you with promises of forever or poetic declarations. She won't whisper fantasies in your ear. She won't ask you to complete her, because she isn't looking to be completed. She's already whole. She's met her own shadow. She's tamed her own animus. She stood in front of her illusions and let them burn. And when she stands before you, it will not be as a goddess craving worship, but as a woman ready to walk beside you. Not above, not beneath, but equal in soul, different in strength. And in that sacred space, there will be no desperation, no clinging, no games, no tests, just truth, just presence, just freedom. The kind Jung spoke of, the rarest kind of love, not born from need, but from liberation. The kind of love that says, I don't need you to complete me, but I choose to meet you fully, exactly as I am. But let's not sugarcoat it. Most men never get here. Most men quit long before. They choose comfort over courage. They settle for the fantasy. They cling to the illusion because it feels safer than standing alone in the dark. They'd rather be adored for who they pretend to be than respected for who they truly are. Because shedding those layer after layer of fake smiles, hollow performances, and borrowed belief shirts, it's not glamorous, it's not romantic, it's brutal. But it's also the only way, the only path to the truth, the only path to real love. And if you walk it, if you keep going, you'll arrive at something terrifyingly beautiful. Yourself. Whole, undivided, free. And when that happens, women will no longer be your mirror. They will no longer be your validation. They will no longer be your source of identity. They will become what they were always meant to be, not objects to be won or therapists to be leaned on, but allies, reflections, co-creators. Not mothers to hold you, not judges to grade you, but women who walk beside you, not because they have to, not because they need to, but because they choose to. And you'll love them not from a place of hunger, but from a place of wholeness. Not because they make you feel like a man, but because you already are one. You chose yourself. And in that choice, everything changed. Carl Jung didn't give us a map. He gave us a mirror, a challenge, a warning. That any man who refuses to face his own soul, who refuses to claim responsibility for the roles he volunteers to play, will be forever lost in the projections of others, especially in the projections of women. But if you accept the challenge, if you stop blaming, stop seeking validation, stop waiting to be chosen, and instead choose yourself, fully, unapologetically, you become untouchable. Not in arrogance, but in clarity. You cannot be controlled by fantasy. You cannot be seduced by illusions. You cannot be rewritten by someone else's story. You become the author of your own life. And if you've made it this far, if this message resonates, don't just walk away like it's another video you'll forget by morning. Do something. Share it with a brother, a friend. A man you know is still trapped in the illusion. Like the video. Subscribe. Because your voice helps ours reach the next man who's still lost, still performing, still waiting to be set free. Let's wake the world up. One man at a time.